this life that you've lived is pretty nuts, man. So you were the first overall pick in the draft. You brought a team to the Super Bowl. You were then you didn't lose your job because of poor performance. You took one of the nastiest hits in NFL history back when you could actually still hit people.
I heard you died on the field.
It was well, I didn't, not all the way died, but I was on the way to the hospital. My brother jumped in the ambulance with me, and on the way to the hospital, I'm sitting there, I'm bleeding out internally, and my brother's looking at me, and all of a sudden I just went lights out, and he thought I was done. But yeah, they got me to the hospital, put a tube in my chest, and immediately started pumping blood out, recycling it, and putting it back in. And but when I first got there, they said I had over 2 liters of blood inside my chest cavity, and they think my size, I probably have a total like 7 liters of blood in my body. So over a quarter of my blood was just floating around in my chest cavity. I was bleeding out about 1 liter an hour, and so yeah, it was gnarly. I didn't know that at the time, but I did. And if I'm going to be like super proud of anything in my career, I never stayed down. I went back in that game after I got hit. I got back. I went back in that game, and then they took me out because I also had a concussion and I couldn't remember my plays.
What was it that happened? Did it rupture your spleen?
Yeah, no, it was an artery in my rib cage and I cracked a rib, and instead of if it had just cut the artery, then it would have clotted and coagulated. Yeah. But it was kind of like the Titanic, how it went long ways down the Titanic. It was like it perforated the thing, so I was bleeding out.
That's bad luck.
Pretty dramatic. Yeah, it was bad luck. But yeah, made it, and then this fucking Brady kid comes in and starts playing okay, and the team rallied around him, and next thing you know, they're in the damn Super Bowl, and so I shuffle off to Buffalo the next year.
Well, that's not true though, because you made your big comeback in the
AFC
AFC
I came back in the AFC
game.
Championship game, which was nice. It taught me to sprain his ankle and let me get a little taste. But that also kind of sucked because I came back in, played, we won, everything was awesome, and all of a sudden I got to go sit back down in the Super Bowl.
Did you have any conversation with Belichick, because you let it come back to lead them to the Super Bowl in the AFC Championship game? Did you have a conversation and be like,
yeah, there was. It wasn't until Wednesday.
Daddy's home.
It wasn't until right. That's kind of what I was in my head. The decision wasn't made until till Wednesday of Super Bowl week. And that's when they said that Tommy was going to start the big game, and I was going to have to go sit back down. So, it's like look, yeah, it sucked. Didn't love, but I always point out to people like, man, that was unfair. Like, no, let's not talk about something unfair in my life. I got to be an NFL quarterback, man. They're paying me to play a game until I was 35. I don't get to say anything was unfair. Now is it? Did I love the situation? No. But, still look back at it, man. It was a crazy experience. And then also, you look back at, there's a great quote. If you ever watch there's a documentary about the Eagles, and they interviewed Joe Walsh, who's all just burnt out and drugged, whatever. He's sober now, but his quote was, he goes, when you look back at your life, it looks like this finely crafted symphony where everything was planned out. When you're in the middle of it, it's just chaos, and you're trying to react. And for me, I look back at it now, and I wouldn't trade. I wouldn't trade the experiences I had. I got to go play in Buffalo, which everybody thinks is the end of the earth, but it's awesome.
The fans up there are pretty wild.
They're crazy, man.
People don't take their shirt off in sub-zero temperatures and jump through fucking tables. You got to have some measure of respect for that.
Yeah, respect. Respect is a word. We went back. We went back for a game in Buffalo last year. You realize that when they have games in Buffalo, they will get 200,000 people for the tailgate party, and the stadium seats 68,000. Yeah. So there are 130,000 people that show up for the party.
Yeah, it's like a NASCAR event.
Yeah,
seriously. If you go to that one in Sonoma with that big field across from it, I've never been to any NASCAR event except for the Daytona 500. I got tricked into that once, but a couple 100,000 people will show up to it. But yeah, the other thing about Buffalo is they'll pay the fans to come clear the snow out of the stadium too.
They just give them like fans are like,
they pay them like $50, and the fans are like, look,
no, they come do it. How about in was it like 2 or 3 years ago? They had to get out to go play. I think they were playing against the Vikings, and they had one of those snowstorms. Well, the fans are on snowmobiles going and picking up the players at their houses to take them to the bus to get to the airport because they couldn't get out. No, they're pretty hardy people, and it was a fun place to play. It was like playing in Buffalo. It's like playing professional ball in a college town, is what it's like. You know, you're just kind of part of the community. You know, you go in and you go in and if somebody buys you a beer at a bar, they expect you to buy them a beer back. You're like they're not just like
I saw your contract.
Hey, here you go. You know, like, they're like. Okay, no, now it's your turn. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, Marshawn Lynch, I don't think had the great experience that you had. He was
going
like,
from
this town's got a Applebee's.
You go from you go from Oakland to Buffalo. That's a pretty hard, or actually not even Buffalo,
Oakland
to Orchard Park. You know, you're in like Mayberry. You know, that's a tough switch.
I don't know what he was complaining about. He ate Skittles.
What's there to do in this town? Well, you can watch the water go over the cliff here.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool. Just the water goes over the cliff. It does.
Yeah, you had to find your own fun. You know, the fun was not all out there for you.
Yeah. And the fun mostly out there is meth. You go to Rochester. You can find that. You know, I've never dabbled. I've tried a lot of things. I haven't dabbled on the meth side. Yeah. But I'm only 52, so I mean, maybe
there's still time.
There's still time.
Don't cut yourself short. I don't know what age Joe Exotic got started, but he's doing fine.
Seems like it worked out great. Seems like it worked out great for him. Seems like it worked out great.
Whoever created those Bills uniforms that you had to play in was definitely on some of that sweet Rochester blue. Though.
Okay, so here's a great Buffalo story, and this is now, I always thought this was kind of like just, you know, you see the memes after the Super Bowl where they send the shirts to Africa.
Yeah.
So you see the guys, hey, whatever, the Buffalo Bills shirts are coming next week. Well, I met this guy at a wine event who was from Africa, and he'd been in the United States for a long time now. But when he first came to the U.S., he was super excited to come and cheer for the greatest football franchise of all time, the Buffalo Bills.
From 89 to 92.
Because for 4 straight years, he had shirts delivered that said World Champions Buffalo Bills. And so he came to the U.S. and he's like, the greatest football team of all time, the Buffalo Bills. And people are like, what the hell are you talking about? There's no, they win every year. It was like, oh, sorry, but no, they actually. So that actually does happen. They actually send those shirts to Africa.
So he learned some stuff about Buffalo and about Africa.
Yes, he did.
You know, and that's, you know, somewhat similar to like what we were talking about before, where, you know, that team is thought of as a punchline now, where they're one of the greatest dynasties of all time.
Name another team that's been to 4 consecutive Super Bowls.
Can't.
There aren't.
Yeah,
it doesn't exist.
But all they're known for is, you know. So when you, because you're a Super Bowl champion, do you feel like that's your Super Bowl? Do you feel? I mean,
it took me a long time to put that ring on. You know, I do take a lot of pride in that season because, you know, I could have blown it up. You know, I was the leader of the team, captain, you know.
Yeah, you could have made it about
franchise guy. I could have been an asshole and tried to tear the whole thing down, and instead I, you know, did right and supported my guys and supported Tom, and then, you know, like I said, I did get to come in and play in the championship game, which was good. But it was very bittersweet. You know, I was like, look, this is my team. These are all my guys I've been going to battle with for a long time, and we win a championship, but I'm not the guy on the field. That hurt, you know, it hurt. But I'm proud of it. You know, I pull that ring out every now and then, you know, so I'll throw it on. So I do take pride in it, but it took a while.